In this video, I'm going to show you 5 easy lighting setups that you can achieve with just a single studio light and softbox setup. At the end of the video, I'll show you 3 ways that you can modify any of these setups to get even more out of your single point lighting. The first setup is loop lighting, and it's actually what I'm using right now and what I use in a majority of my videos. In this case, where I have the light set up is about 30 to 20 degrees off to one side of the camera and just a little bit above the eye line of the subject. The defining features of loop lighting is that the light reaches to the far side of the face of your subject so that the whole face is nice and evenly illuminated, but you do get a little bit of a shadow cast by the nose and other facial features so that the face doesn't look too flat. Now, in terms of gear for this video, we're testing the brand new SmallRig RC450B. SmallRig has been really aggressive this year in launching a whole bunch of different lighting products. With the 450, this is now the brightest light that they currently offer. And without exaggerating, these lights can get as bright as the sun. Now, with the included reflector, they're rated at 172,000 lux, which, according to Wikipedia, is actually brighter than the brightest sun. But if you want to see what I think about SmallRig's full lineup of lights, you can check out this video here, or check out the links in the description to see what lighting products I currently recommend. Now, similar to loop lighting is Rembrandt lighting, and this is probably one of the most popular types of lighting, at least in name, but it is a little bit more dramatic than loop lighting because we have it casting more of a shadow. And the distinguishing features of Rembrandt lighting, if you look on the opposite side of the face from where the light is coming, you'll see this shadow triangle of light that's created. And that's how you know when you've set your light up properly for Rembrandt lighting. Typically, you want to do 45 degrees and a little bit above the eye line of your model. And Rembrandt lighting is a great starting point. From there, you can add modifiers or add an edge light or a hair light, but we'll talk about that in just a minute. Now, if you want lighting that's a little bit less dramatic, maybe a little bit more neutral and a little bit more flat, you can try butterfly lighting. And that's when you take the light, you position it above the camera and above your model, and it's basically hitting them straight on. Now, the defining characteristics of this type of light are when you have 2 specific shadows. The first is when you have a shadow under their nose, and the second is when you have this flat shadow kind of like right under their chin. This type of lighting might be more suitable for like a beauty or a fashion shoot, or if you have a female model, whereas Rembrandt lighting can be a little bit more masculine because of the way that the shadow falls on your subject. Now, if you want something that is really dramatic, maybe you have a dancer that you're shooting or something where there's a little bit of action, you can try silhouette lighting. This is easily one of the most dramatic styles of lighting, and you achieve it by placing the light directly behind your model. Now, ideally, you don't want to see the light source. So in this case, what we were doing was we took off the softbox diffuser, just had the light hitting the back of the head of our model so that when we took the photo, we didn't actually see the light source. All we got was this halo or silhouette around the edge of our subject. This style of lighting, again, is gonna be way more dramatic, and it's gonna be a good way to emphasize movement and then basically make it so that your subject is shrouded in mystery. Now, one of my favorite types of lighting that doesn't get used that often is actually top-down or overhead lighting. It's a little bit harder to achieve because you need to get the light right above your model. And in this case, we were using a C-stand, but the light we were using was pretty heavy. These 450 lights are about 8 pounds a piece, so we had to be pretty particular when we were setting it up to make sure that we were able to balance our C-stand so that it didn't fall over. But if you can achieve it, it's a very dramatic lighting effect. Now, one of the downsides of this type of lighting is that you can't actually see the eyes of your subject, and that's because their forehead and their eyebrow line is shadowing their eyes so that there's nothing to actually catch the reflection in their eyeballs. Versus if you look at something like Rembrandt lighting, you'll see that circle of the softbox off to one side. Or if you look at butterfly lighting, you'll see the halo of the softbox kind of above the pupil of your subject. So in this case, what we want to do is if we want to see the eyes of our subject, we have to include a modifier. One of the easiest modifiers that you can use is just a basic reflector. And all it is a white surface or a gold surface or a silver surface. And what you can do is you can bounce light back on your subject. These come in all various shapes and sizes. You can get square ones, you can get rectangular ones, you can even get kind of like half moon dish shaped ones that will give you this kind of underlighting. But what you can see is now we're able to pull more details out of the shadows so that it's not as harsh and we don't get as much of a raccoon eyes effect. The other option, of course, is that you can get your subject to look upwards. Like maybe it's, oh, the light is coming from heaven and we're looking up. Then you won't get that dramatic raccoon eyes effect, but it all depends on what you're going for. Now, another thing you can do is you can introduce an edge light. So if you have access to another light, placing it behind your subject off to one side is one way of it's kind of like we're creating that silhouette around our subject. So if you imagine combining silhouette lighting with maybe Rembrandt lighting, then you start to create a much more dynamic look. Now, another way to change or alter your lighting is to use a modifier. Now, for all of these photos, we were actually using a diffuser, which is one type of modifier, but also a grid. And what the grid does is it reduces spill so that instead of light kind of going in all different directions, it really hones everything in so that the light is just hitting your subject. Now with the edge light we were using a grid so that when we hit the backside of our model, we were just kind of hitting the head and the shoulders and not spilling it all over the place to completely alter the lighting within our photos. Now, over the last year, I've reviewed quite a few different lights on this channel, including this Viltrox light and these Aperture 60D and 60X lights. So if you want to see those videos, you can check out either of these guys here, or if you think there's a lighting style that I missed, go ahead, leave it in the comments, and maybe I'll cover it in an upcoming video. And until the next one, go shoot photos.